Welcome to Wake Up with Joni. The intention of this podcast is to help you come off automatic, uncover, and discover what's truly possible for you. We're here to connect with guests whose purpose it is to share their experience, insight, and knowledge to inspire and inform. From wisdom keepers to healers to leadership experts, coaches, and authors from around the globe, we'll bring you cutting-edge information and tools so that you can wake up, take charge, and live your healthiest and most powerfully alive lives. Today's guest, I'm very excited, is Dr. Moshe Block, a naturopathic doctor, a healer, the author of The Revolution of Naturopathic Medicine, Remaining True to Our Philosophy in 2004, and the creator of the VIS dialogue, which is a mind-body healing technique that produces profound results in the healing process. Dr. Block has over 25 years of experience in studying, implementing, and sharing his Dr. Block has over 25 years of experience in studying, implementing, and sharing his healing philosophy of uniting the worlds of mind, body, medicine, and psychology. He also knows a whole lot more. I'm looking forward to really diving into this conversation. So welcome, Doctor, and thank you for being here.
I thank you too. It's my pleasure, really, my honor.
Yay. Well, it's always exciting to meet a new person, to find out new information. I love exploring what's possible for the human being, and you're going to be a big part of that today. So I like to start with just kind of some background. How did you become a naturopathic doctor? What led you to that in particular?
Yeah, they say that you go into what you need.
Mm.
I think that's one of the driving forces. I was always sick. I was sick like a good portion of my childhood with asthma and pneumonia and bronchitis and strep throat. And then there's so much. And I was getting injured a lot. And then I developed an autoimmune condition 30 years ago, myasthenia gravis. So my drive was to, end my suffering and want to help others who may be suffering in the way that I was. So that's why I studied naturopathic medicine. And I chose naturopathy, not conventional medicine, because I was aware already of what was inside of conventional that didn't really align with what I felt or wanted. And I wanted to be a healer. I actually wanted to do Barbara Brennan's School of Healing, but I thought,
Yes.
well, yeah, very cool, very cool. Like she was very transformational in my early days. But then I wanted something a little bit more balanced with the scientific. So I thought naturopathic medicine was that. And it was to some degrees, but it was leaning a little bit too much towards the material, the mechanistic. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. So I love the blend. So the blend of what Dr. Brennan did, and then the science and the diagnostics and whatnot of the Western medicine, I feel like the naturopathic doctor lands somewhere in the middle.
Ideally, today I would say that's not the case, and not necessarily the doctor out practicing in the field, but the formation through the colleges, they have lost their way to a large extent. There's been a takeover, which, by the same forces that brought us the lovely things in the last few years and all that stuff. The naturopathic doctors out in practice are walking that line, that fine line. Yeah.
So you went to college in Canada. Are you based in Canada now, or are you in the States?
No, I'm in the United States. I'm in Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah,
How
I
did you
left
get there?
Canada, East Tennessee, not far from Johnson City.
All right. Out of curiosity, because that's my nature. How did you end
Yeah,
up in
please.
Tennessee?
It was interesting idea. So my wife and I and our kids, we were living in Montreal and we were just watching in horror what was going on, the government response in COVID. And we were under quarantine and we were hearing stories of medical kidnapping and just terrible things. And one day we were in the park and my kids were just playing with a bunch of other kids. It was 7 sports activity. And there were these young, pretty girls going around. And I say girls, they were probably 12, 13, 14. They were asking kids if they wanted to come and have some ice cream and to get a shot. They were setting up these clinics in the parks. So that's where we drew the line, because if we weren't paying attention for 10 seconds and then they brought the kids over to have ice cream, like what kid doesn't want some ice cream? That was like beyond evil. That was beyond evil for us. And then funny enough, we met a couple and they were like our mirrors. They were mirrors to us and they wanted to leave too. So we decided, okay, we're going to leave together. We made plans. We sold our house. We were ready to go. And then the gentleman who I became very close friends with, he had a psychotic break.
Oh,
And so
no.
we didn't end up going together, but they catalyzed us to leave. And we were planning to go to Florida, but on the way down, we were like, you don't really want to go to Florida. And it was just strictly intuitive on both our parts. We felt drawn to Tennessee. And
Wow.
we love it here. It's great. We really do. We love it here.
Okay, I think I'm asking an innocuous question, and out of it comes this profound answer that speaks to the world in this time. So thank you.
Yes.
Could you share with the listeners what is naturopathy? Did I say that right?
Yeah, you said it great. Yeah.
Okay. What is it
Naturopathy
exactly? And I was going to say, why is it better?
than conventional medicine.
Yeah, I think it
So
is.
yeah. Well, for sure. Naturopathic medicine it's a medicine that's based on tenets, on a philosophy. And then there are multiple different modalities that a naturopathic doctor can be trained in. And some choose to specialize and some remain eclectic, meaning practicing a wide range of modalities. The principles are first, do no harm, which is a tenet that's also held by conventional medicine. Although I don't know if they or even naturopaths are really applying that well. That it's to treat the whole person. So it acknowledges the fact that there is a spirit, soul, mind, emotion, and body to the human being, not just a material body, to treat the underlying cause of illness. And we hear today a lot of people using that as a buzzword. We treat the root cause. And I would say I've never, or maybe very rarely, actually been in accordance with what they consider the root cause. So like functional medicine says root cause medicine, but it's a little deeper. It's looking a little deeper than just treating the symptoms, which is all that conventional medicine could do. That it's a medicine of suppression of symptoms. And functional medicine is a little deeper. It looks to the gut and digestion and nutritional levels, the markers in the blood and addressing things that way. So it's a little deeper than just treating the symptoms, but it's still material based. So I don't consider that root cause. What I consider root cause is the mind, is our choices. And I'd love to get into that with you.
Let's
So
do it.
those are 3 out of the 6, 7 principles. I propose in my book, The Revolution of Naturopathic Medicine, that I published 2004, that physician heal thyself should be a tenet of the medicine. Otherwise, you're just practicing strictly from a cerebral place, and the vital energies that are at play are not being brought to bear in the healing process, or they're going to be corrupted or misapplied because of the person's lack of health. So a physician should, I don't love the word should, be in a place of healing.
Yeah.
So that's another principle that I propose. And then there is treat each person as an individual. This is a very important principle. And for me, these are principles, even though they're typically associated with naturopathic medicine, they are typical for the holistic model of medicine. The holistic being that the whole organism is one thing. So holistic practice doesn't mean, we give something for the body, nutrition, and then we give something Bach flower remedies for the mental and emotional. And then we do maybe chiropractic for the spine. And then it's just piecemeal. What I consider holistic is the idea that the body is a reflection of the mind. They're one and the same. the influence is from mind to body for the most part, the
Mhm.
vast majority of the part. So in understanding the chronic illness or the suffering that we have in our body, or even emotion, we can look to the mind to understand what the body is reflecting. So so you're getting right now my interpretation of it and some of the basically held tenets of naturopathic medicine.
Right. My belief, so we all have beliefs, we all have perspectives. I'm right in alignment with that. And honestly, I feel in all the things that I've done and seen and worked with over the years, the mind piece, the emotional piece, those pieces are way more powerful in keeping a person sick or getting a person well than the body itself. The body, it seems, will just follow what this very powerful spirit, soul, mind will tell it to do.
Exactly. They're very well said. Because in my awareness, the body is a passive realm. It
Yes.
doesn't decide for itself which direction it's going to go. It's just responding to the mental emotional sphere. By the way, the emotion is also passive. So in alchemy, like the term actins and passions, like patience,
Hmm.
passions and active. The active is the mental and the spirit realm. And then the emotional and physical are passive. They're just reflections of the mind. So we do have control. Like there's some philosophical debate about that we could get into maybe, but we do have control over our thoughts. And that's where we do have jurisdiction. And then the emotion will just reflect that and the body will reflect that. And I consider, like you said, it's way more powerful. I think each level we go up, we get a quantum level deeper and more powerful to influence the body's health. So
Yeah.
at the body, it's like shoving around boulders, and there's very little that we could do. We have to keep cranking or swallowing pills or just repeating procedures just to get a little bit of movement. If we go into the level of the vital, acupuncture gets to the level of vital. Steiner would probably refer to that as the
Hmm.
etheric level, the level of the energy field just around the body. So one quantum level deeper. Emotionally is another quantum level deeper. And then the mind is a quantum level deeper. And then there's the causal plane, which is, I don't even know how much that is just the most influential. If we
Yeah.
could tap into that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's dive into whether we have control over our thoughts and the philosophy behind that. And then,
Sure.
so and I ask sometimes two questions in a row so I don't forget them. How do people access the etheric and that quantum or that consciousness because that's where the really quick healing happens or the
Yeah,
bound
the
healing.
causal.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
yes.
Get away.
All right, so we're sort of hitting on the Kabbalistic four worlds. It's also a topic in yoga and like the Vedic knowledge and stuff like that. What was your first question? I felt inspired to address that. Do you recall?
Yes. The control over thoughts, the
Oh,
philosophy
yes,
behind you,
yes,
whether
yes.
or not we.
Wonderful. Okay, so do we have control over our thoughts? Well, on a certain level, yes, of course we do. I'm going to think something right now. I'm going to think of a red ball. Oh, I just thought of a red ball. So yeah, we do. We do have that control. But Shakespeare posed this question, to be or not to be. That is the question. So being is not something you can control because it is. That's like the most fundamental place where we don't have control because we
Mhm.
are. And that's a good thing. We associate not having control as a bad thing very often. But in this regard, no control means, okay, you got it. You are alive in what you are. And that's a beautiful thing. And whatever emanates from that, we don't have control over. And if all we could do, and this is actually a quote from Barbara Brennan, all we could do is allow it to be or get in its way. So we can control our thoughts and get in the way of true reality, our true nature, which would be
Mhm.
oppositional, resistance, stopping, avoiding, denying. These are the things that we can do with our mind.
Spark something in my head.
Sure.
It's funny because I like to laugh at things because I think that's a highly spiritual thing to do. It's funny
Definitely.
how particularly people who have the compulsion to control themselves, people, places, and things, so themselves and others, they don't even have control over their own being. The being just is the being, as you said. And so the place where peace comes and where you don't have that resistance and those negative emotions is where you allow others to simply be.
That's right. Exactly. To let things run their course, to let things be as they would.
Yes.
Um, what I've observed in my practice, because when I work with people, I take them very deeply into the mental field and emotion. The emotion is accompanying them. What I see is that very often a child will be in a state of existence where they don't understand something that's very negative and very hard to wrap their head around, like their parents being abusive
Mhm.
or their siblings being abusive, or their parents neglecting them, or their parents just not being very alive, because a child is filled with this vital verve that is almost boundless. It's just natural. And with it, for the most part, children are very loving. They love just because they are still so close to that source of who we really are. And then something goes on, right? Like their parents are neglecting them and they're not happy and they don't get it. And they don't understand because they're too young to say, oh, mommy and daddy are struggling because of finances and their moms and dads were very loving to them. They don't have this context. So they can control themselves. They can make themselves wrong. They could say, oh, it's probably because of me. And so the release point when I get people into this level is to help them actually realize that they made a choice to try to justify something that was unfathomable to them that they had no control over. So
Mhm.
really the release point is going back to realize there was no control and there was just a situation that was unhappy, and to release the need to try to control it. And the way that they tried to control it was to make themselves wrong, is that
Right.
they can have control over. So isn't it interesting that the point of suffering starts from the illusion that I can control something, or I want to try to mitigate this suffering I have, and that it is to make oneself wrong, and one is not wrong. One is not
Right.
wrong in that regard because you're an innocent child. Like it was on the parents, and they're in a sense also innocent because they suffered, and so on and so forth, going all the way up the line. So that's another way of understanding to let go, that it's okay to let go of control because it was born out of illusion.
Mhm.
That is an illusion that we have that kind of control.
It's interesting because I have found a thread through what I do with the coaching and all the work that I do. Perfectionism is one of the reactions to the traumatic moment way back in the way back,
Yes.
that, okay, how am I going to control this? I'll be perfect. Then they won't
Yes.
hit me. Then I will be worthy.
Yes.
What do you say to people? I'd love to get your take on how do you help people move through that piece?
Yeah, it's a great question. The control is exactly what you said. It's a compensation for the original false idea, which
Mhm.
is I'm not good enough, or that's why mom and dad aren't paying attention to me, or I'm not lovable,
Mhm.
or, and therefore, in order to get enough attention, I must be perfect. I must excel. I must be the best. I must, whatever, shine beyond others, whatever, because that's a very individual choice. It's part of that principle. So I'm really a big fan of going right to the bottom of everything, because you can work with the perfectionism and realize, oh, I don't need to be perfect. But if that's the compensation for feeling like I'm not good enough, like the house of cards effect, if we remove the not good enough, well, then the need for perfection is gone. So I like
Yes.
to go right to the root. I like to go right to the root.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I myself suffered from the delusion of needed to be perfect. And I discovered that that was actually the root cause of the autoimmune disease that I had. And what I've seen about autoimmune, because I mentioned that the body is a reflection of the mind, and I
Hmm.
didn't really give an example, but here's a good example. So I believed I needed to be perfect. And that was just a matter of fact, right? When the mind is so matter of fact about something, it's got a confidence in what it's believing. Ergo, it will create that reality, that story very strongly because
Hmm.
it's effortless. It's like the strongest way for the mind to be is when it's matter of fact, right? Because then we believe it is. And so the cascade was I need to be perfect. And I was judging myself constantly around being perfect. And when I deemed myself not perfect enough, I would beat myself up emotionally and punish myself emotionally. And then my body would reflect that by attacking itself. That's what I have seen in most of my cases, that the body is attacking itself because the person is attacking themselves.
Yes. That's a
Yeah.
perfect example.
Yeah. It's a very
And
cool illustration.
a human being has a vast number of ways to punish themselves. So
Oh, right.
it
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And
goes back to we create our own suffering,
yeah.
starting with that the mental and emotional piece. So
Yeah,
I'm hoping
definitely.
people out there can go, oh, whoa, I see where I was doing that with this. So that
Right.
you can, yeah, find a way to, they can't come to you, which we'll talk about later where they can find you. If they couldn't come to you, would your book help them work through
Yes,
this?
definitely. The book helps. The book would help a lot. I also have practitioners that I've trained in the
Oh,
peace dialogue and they could seek them out. And coming through me is the best way to get in touch with them.
okay.
Yeah. Have you heard of the expression, pain is inevitable, suffering is
It's
optional? You
optional.
know that
Absolutely.
concept? So I think there's pain in life. Like the world is a hard place and it's also hard. Nature is tough, right? And you're gonna stub your toe. You're gonna meet people that hurt you. You're gonna meet animals that bite you. Suffering is optional. So pain does not equal suffering. Pain is pain. It's an experience. Suffering is what the mind does to wrap itself around the suffering. To survive, often we do things with our mind in order to survive the pain.
Mhm.
And really, the way out of that is to allow the pain to spread without trying to control it. Like when you see someone injure themselves, I've had the privilege, perhaps that's the wrong word, of watching somebody break their leg, and myself included. Everything tenses up. And in the point, like that is an instinct of the body to stop the pain. But what it also does is it blocks the chi, it blocks the vital energy from flowing. So the best way to get through pain is to relax and allow it to be and just to experience it. And that's true in life. But we don't know that. Like our instinct about pain is to avoid it, to numb it, and to disconnect from it. And those three things are the worst possible way to deal with the healing that is required around pain. So I appreciate the pain that comes from physical illness. It could literally be that the person just has pain. They have pain in their back or migraines or something. Or the pain that comes from being debilitated or sick, that pain is a pressure cooker that is making the person look at themselves and say, what is this about? Because the body doesn't get it's sick for no reason. It's not arbitrary. There's a reason. And the reason is to help the person see what it is that they're doing that's not aligned with their truth. Because I do believe that we're here primarily to realize who we are. And I don't just mean intellectually. I mean like the realization, meaning the arrival at, right? Like the waking up to. Yeah, I think that's what we're here for.
and the pain is like the little signposts along the road. Do you know, deep, 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 walking along the road, and you need to stop. Maybe
Yeah.
you should stop now. Really need to stop. So
Yeah. Turn back.
you
That's right. That's right.
listen to the
That's
first
great.
signs, everyone. There's another saying: people don't change until the pain of staying the same becomes greater.
Mhm.
So pain is,
Exactly.
yeah,
And
the,
you can say like the ego or that it brings you to your knees. Like I got so sick that the illness brought me to my knees. And because I was very confident, my ego, very strong ego, very confident in myself. And
yeah,
I think that's nice. I think it's nice for a person to have confidence in themselves. But when it's like, it's when it's separated from the source, like what I'm realizing today is that a lot of very wise people realize how lucky they are, how grateful they are for what they are.
right.
There's a sense of gratitude to something larger than themselves. But I didn't really have that per se. So really like the illness helped me to really attenuate the ego more.
Mhm.
Otherwise, like I'm like, yeah, I got this thing called life. I know what I'm doing. And honestly, just the more that I learn, the more we've heard this before, the more I see I don't know and all that
Right.
good stuff.
And the ego is a blessing in so many ways. One is I know I'm me and I know you're you. But
Yeah, yeah,
the other piece is it will bring us to our knees. It's exactly what you're
yeah.
saying.
Yes.
And
If we just identify with it, if it's the
exactly.
central mover and shaker of our lives.
Yes.
If you get in your car, you don't think you are your car. There's a distinction between you and your car. Although some people do get attached to their cars and their identity is around it. So there's a little bit of that. But like when you pureness of isness, the pure consciousness that you are and will always be, we do get like the mind can flow either way into the ego realm or into the realm of reality. The mind sits at the threshold. So the mind can identify with getting in the car, these vessels that are the ego as being the self. This
Mhm.
is who I am. That's a mistake. It's a mistake of perception. And that's what leads to suffering. Like I am this thing. I am this thing.
Yes. Yes. And in every hero's journey, every dark night of the soul, if people are willing to lean into it, and sometimes, I mean, for me, it was I had a choice. I can either live this way for the rest of my life or I need to make some big changes. This is about 15 years ago. And I am so grateful for that suffering, the suffering I caused myself. But I'm so grateful because I became a completely different being in the world, or I became myself, really. I
Right.
shed a lot of the masks and the ideas and the beliefs and the stories and all that stuff, and then stepped into the last third of my life and who do I want to be in the world? And we actually have that choice. But I didn't know that till I had the crash and burn. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Very
So,
good. Yeah. And here you are shining your beautiful light
mm,
without as much veil, which is amazing. That's so beautiful. That suffering, yeah, when we reframe our relationship, because one of the things I would say that is most difficult in this life is physical disease, like suffering, like with the body, like maybe weaknesses or actual diagnoses of disease and stuff like that. And those are the places where we could have the most understanding of ourselves, because where we get sick is where we are frozen in our evolution and in our evolution to the I am.
oh,
That's the very thing that is time. It's time to look at this now.
oh, that is
Yeah.
so beautifully put. That just went right through my heart.
Oh,
The way
lovely.
sick is where we're frozen. That's beautiful. Thank you. I want to not forget our second question.
Yes, please.
Remember? Okay, so it had to do with four ideas in various the Kabbalistic teachings, the yogic, there were several four ideas or something that are common to all these practices.
Yeah, the
Or
four worlds.
there you go.
Let's look at it this way. Kabbalah acknowledges four worlds. So the world of the physical, the world of And that's common in yoga as well, the physical world. And they're both named the same. Then there's a world of, well, I'm going to put it in English terms and then I'll explain in the Hebrew. So astral, which is the world of Yetzirah.
Mm.
And then the world of the causal is the world of Bria. And then the world of the absolute. The absolute in Kabbalah sounds a lot like the English word. It's Atzilut.
Mm.
Atzilut. And that is pure beingness. There is no separation and nothing is manifest. There's nothing created. It's just isness. So the lower worlds, I say lower, but like the Briatic world is unfathomably high, even compared to our physical world. But we are living simultaneously in all four worlds because the worlds also comprise the matter of our bodies that we're inhabiting. So the physical world is the physical body. The world of the astral contains the subtle bodies, which are the subtle body in yoga, which is made up of the vital, the prana maya kosha, the subconscious, which is known as the mano maya kosha, and then the intellect, which is vijnana maya kosha. And I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm probably not.
Sounds
So
good to me.
the subtle body is actually made up of three bodies. So sometimes the yogic will refer to the three bodies. It doesn't refer to the isness as a body at all because it's not a body. It is reality. There's nothing beyond. There's nothing before it. It is, was, and will always be. It's a mystery that the mind cannot fathom, doesn't like very much, needs some kind of what created that. It is, was, and always will be. It's beyond creation. It's beyond space and time. It's mind-boggling. That's what it is. And okay, so that's the world of the Atzilut, what I just described. The Briatic world is the causal plane.
Mm.
The causal plane in yogic terms is Ananda Maya Kosha. It's pure joy. And it also has this nature of, they call it, I think that's the word, it means ignorance. Now, it doesn't mean you're ignorant. It means that you have no egoic sense of yourself in that place. So it's beyond the ego. So it's very close to the original state of isness. It's very, very high. And that's the point of pure potentiality. So if a master, like we're in this world, right? But then people can master this world and be in the astral world, a master of the physical. But then there are masters of the astral and the physical who dwell as their basic reality in the causal. And those masters could create universes with their intention because they see all as potential. So this is where mind immediately manifests its reality. And we can have glimpses into that. We could have moments where the clouds part or there's pure stillness of intention and just the thought will manifest like that. Because the person who is in the causal sees everything. They see everything around them, not as objects like this and this. They don't see it as objects. I'm referring, in case somebody's listening, I'm referring to my shirt and my face. They see it as thought form. They see it as the energy of thought. And since they dwell within the energy of thought, they can therefore change the matter of thought, which is amazing. It's amazing. Like, it's really amazing. Yeah.
You just explained to me in words what I have seen happen again and again with the shaman in terms of what they're able to see, the seeing piece. So fascinating.
Yes, sure. I would say like the real shamans, the enlightened ones, right? Because not all shamans are created equal.
Oh, no,
just
no.
like, right, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, no, no, no. I
Yeah,
read a book and now I'm a shaman.
yeah. Right. Exactly. Thank you. That's my little caveat there.
We are on the same page. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So is there more on the four worlds or?
Oh, that's a good question. One, I love this topic of the four worlds. And it was interesting because I had another bout with illness with myasthenia gravis. That was right when I found out that we were pregnant. It brought up a lot of stuff. And I kind of incepted myself, the idea of inception, where you implant a belief.
Mhm.
I derived it from the movie Inception, where they go deep into the dream realm to implant these ideas in the subconscious that then manifest in the waking life. I incepted myself that my life was over because I was going to have a baby. Because I was
Wow.
so hell bent on enlightenment.
Mhm.
And it was just a big, I laugh about it now, but it was a big deal for me. And I really, really embodied that belief. And I almost died, literally almost
Mhm.
died. So
Wow.
I had been told so many times, you got to read the autobiography of a yogi, Paramahansa Yogananda. And I
Mhm.
was like, yeah, that's yoga stuff. I'm Jewish. I don't, that's for those people. Us separating myself from that, judging it. And
Yes.
then
Suffering.
pardon me?
Causing your suffering.
Yes. Very lovely, lovely. So I actually was very weakened at that time, even more than the first time I'd gotten sick 30 years ago. This was 10 years ago. And I was even sicker the second time. It was a quantum level deeper for my healing. And at that time, I read the book and it was immediately life changing for me. And I was ready for it. So again, brought me to my knees even deeper. So then I was open to this other level of reality. And I read it. And in the book, there was this chapter where Sri Yukteswar, who is the master of Paramahansa Yogananda, the author of the book, he dies and resurrects himself and in the astral. And so he appears to Paramahansa Yogananda in his hotel room one night, and he lays out all these things about the different worlds.
Mhm.
And I was just blown away because there's a little bit of a secrecy in Kabbalah, like amongst the rabbis, like you got to be a part of the club to get the real juice. And I
Mhm.
was a little bit of a rebel. Like I didn't really want to play that game. I wanted the knowledge, but I didn't want to play the game. So I didn't really get much. And a
Mhm.
lot of the publications in Kabbalah are, I mean, there are good ones now, especially because we're evolving. But back, I'm talking about years ago,
Yes.
they're like, they don't go that deep and they don't really expose what the four worlds are. And there's so much to learn about them. Like it's endless.
Mhm.
But I got a lot out of reading that book and it helped me understand what the four worlds were to that degree.
Mhm.
So that was really amazing. And one thing that I've come to love the idea of is that, so there's this cycle and you can imagine life and death. So we die in the physical. We're born, well, we're brought into the astral because we're always present in all of these states where whether we're awake, sleeping, or deep sleeping with no dreams, whether we're alive in the physical and awake in the physical or alive in the astral, the consciousness that we are is the common denominator whichever level we're at. So when we die in the physical, we're reborn in the astral just to prepare and then go back in the physical to deal with physical karma. Issues that we're attached to, beliefs that we think we need this or that, that respect. I need respect. I need money. I need to be beautiful. Whatever the attachments are that bring us back, they draw us back. And then once a person realizes that all of that is not the real treasure, like when we realize it's not the real treasure, then we detach from that world and we ascend. We're not stuck here anymore in this process of karma. We're not. So
Mhm.
that's the beautiful thing. And then we, when we're at the place of the astral, where the astral is equivalent to the physical, what the physical was, we then, when we die in the astral, we are incarnated or we go into the causal. So the causal becomes the heaven, is the heaven of heaven. right? Because when you die, you go to heaven, you go to the astral. But when you die in the astral, you're already in heaven. Now you go to the heaven of heaven. You can imagine how heavenly the first heaven is. How heavenly is the second heaven?
Yeah, I was going to try and put words to it, but I don't think that that's actually something that I can do, given that I'm not up there right now.
One thing I could say is I read the book by Eben Alexander. He's a neurosurgeon, medical doctor.
Mhm.
It's called Proof of Heaven. It's an amazing testimony of a very, very left brain, dubious, skeptical, scientific minded medical doctor who died and went to heaven, and he writes about it. And I parallel, like in my teaching, when I have a course and everything, and I parallel the expressions of Sri Yukteswar's description of the levels of heaven and Ibn Alexander, Dr. Ibn Alexander's description, and they're identical in essence, not in words, in
Right,
essence.
right. Got it.
And what Ibn Alexander describes about the causal is that there's so much joy that you can't help but chant joyously in awe and the glory of God, like pure gratitude just flowing like, oh. And one thing that I understand in Kabbalah, like the throne room, Judeo-Christian throne room where the Christ sits, the
Mhm,
child, that's the marriage of the father and the mother, sits on the throne.
mhm.
There are the 24 elders. There are the realms and realms of the angelic. There's the four beasts of the apocalypse, the lion, the eagle, the man, and the bull. They all are chanting in glory of the Christ, which
Wow.
gives a sense of awe.
Yeah. Well, and Christ consciousness is so funny. It's not funny, but it's so misunderstood as if you believe in Christ, then you're Christian, which is
Yeah.
fine. That's awesome. But it's the
Yeah.
consciousness that is common to all of us. It's that,
All of us. And
yeah,
the Christ, there's a difference between the Christ consciousness
yes,
and Jesus, the Christ.
yes.
So Jesus Christ was a being, a human being who attained to the highest degree and was the pure embodiment of the Christ. And so it is about his glory, Jesus, the individual's glory. And it's also about, and perhaps more importantly about, the Christ that lives in all of us, that the Taoists call the Tao,
Hmm.
the yogis call Brahman or the Atman. Well, the Atman is more of the absolute. There's subtleties of differences in these definitions, but they're basically one and the same. Yes, I agree.
What
Yeah.
what a delicious conversation because, I'm like, "Oh, yes, this person looks really interesting. I'm really excited to have this conversation about naturopathy and all." This is so much more than I expected, and I really appreciate it. And it is a testament to, I mean, just the feeling I have in talking to you, that elevation, vibration of just being connected and all those things that will help people heal. So
Oh,
it's
yes.
so go on your own journey, folks. Find what your juice is. But I think that everybody can hook into their own spiritual journey in their own way. And if any of these little nuggets spark something, then pursue it. And I'll put some of the show notes, put the books that you mentioned in there in your book.
Yes.
So if you could give us maybe some practical ways, maybe some people who are just at the beginning of their journeys, what would you say to them? How do you invite
Yeah.
them to that?
Sure, sure. Well, first of all, I'm so grateful to have this conversation with you because, yes, I am a naturopathic doctor. And these discussions for me are very congruent, very resonant with naturopathic medicine
Hmm.
because it doesn't just end at the prescription of the remedy, but it involves the philosophy of who we are. Since in the invitation of treat, the whole person is brought to bear. And well, what is the whole person? That's what we're talking about right now. In the Christ and in the causal and all these delicious topics that I love talking about. So, so what I would recommend to people is that they create a little in their mind. And don't give it too much RAM, just a little bit of RAM, like just a little bit of focus. You don't want to get obsessive because you want to be present in the moment, but just a little app to recognize what you're feeling and what you're thinking. Right. So what that means is paying attention. The buzzword is mindfulness. And what I would recommend that would assist that process is some form of meditation or some kind of practice to go into stillness, because it's easier said than done, right? Like, okay, oh yeah, just sit in stillness. Okay, fine, I'm gonna sit in stillness. Did I turn off the stove? I'm gonna make money. Did they say that to me? What did they mean? Did she really mean that about me? Like all this stuff that comes up. The mind doesn't like stillness because when the mind is still, it has no control. That's the place of truth, is no control.
Yeah.
But it wants its very thing, especially as it's attached to the ego, is to have control.
Mhm.
Learn stillness, whether it's meditative, whether it's in your day-to-day life. Just when you notice your little app is running, you say, oh, your mind is really busy right now. Slow it down. Because when the mind stills, the quiet that comes is what allows for the bubbling forth of the true nature. Vitally, emotionally, mentally, like all the stuff comes from stillness.
Yeah.
And there's a certain letting go of control there in pure stillness. Like, cause there's a point where the person goes, oh, okay, here we go. Like into the surrender void of what seems like nothingness. Taoists, the Chinese call it the void that is not empty. And I love that. I love that.
For the people who, let's say they have a diagnosis and they have been living with this for a very long time. And when you
Okay.
say psychological, energetic, mental, they may get really resistant, which to me means lean into that. There may be something really here for you. But what do you say to them about being able to be open to that concept so that they really can find true and permanent healing?
Yeah. Yeah. So to change one mentality, because usually what people do is they want to get rid of the disease because it's inconvenient for their ego. It is.
Mhm.
Like somebody has chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia, it's inconvenient because now they can't run around taking care of everybody to make sure that they're absolutely indispensable and everybody needs them because they feel so not good about themselves. So
Mm.
the ego would like to get rid of the disease so that it can continue to try to assert its worthiness. So
Wow.
just to change one's relationship, start by asking the question, what is this showing me? Rather than I got to get rid of it, ask, what is it showing me? And then to start to pay attention to the things that it stops you from doing. That's a clue, because it's somewhere therein your ego is desiring that thing.
Mm.
If I can't play soccer, but that's where I felt so free and like I felt my best self. And the person might say, without soccer, I feel XYZ. So the soccer was the compensation for, it was giving you an outlet for a very important thing that you weren't looking at just inherently. So look at
Wow.
what it's stopping you from doing and how you feel about it and how it makes you feel about yourself.
Mm.
So those are really good points of exploration. I do hammer out these ideas more in my book. So a person could get something out of reading my book. It basically starts this process of self-inquiry.
Mhm.
And then, yeah,
I just want you, please, to let them know where they can find you. Then I have one last question for you that I
sure,
ask all my
sure.
guests. So where can they find you? Where could they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not your last question though, right?
No, it's
That's
not.
the, okay, okay, good, good. Because I'd be like, oh, that's not,
Oh, what a
I'm just
disappointment.
going to tell them how to contact me, which I'm happy to offer it. Okay. So there's two ways to contact me. If you want to train, if you're a practitioner, I mean that in two ways. I mean, you're a naturopath, you're a holistic nurse, you're an acupuncturist or a nutritionist or a counselor, psychotherapist. You want to train in how to do the work that's called the V's dialogue. then you could reach me and look at the website. It's holistic, HOLISTIC -counseling with one L .ca. I was a Canuck at the time, 51st state of America. When I developed that. Yeah. And then if you want to reach me for personal development, healing, illness, then it's Dr. Dr. Moshe, MOSHE.com.
Okay.
So that's how you reach me. Yeah. Good.
Perfect.
Good.
All right. So here's the last question. You ready?
Sure. Yeah. Hit me up with it.
Okay. How do you recommend that our listeners go out and live their most alive lives?
Yes. Yes. The answer is, and I'll develop it out a little bit, is be yourself. And because the principle of being is the most fundamental, central principle of everything. It's to be. You know, when Moses asked God, what's your name? And God says, I shall be as I shall be, or I am that I am. So amness, beingness, also translates down through all the worlds into emotional be yourself, express yourself. First of all, feel your feelings, acknowledge your feelings, express your feelings, move your feelings. Be yourself in your personality. It's also a reflection of this higher principle. So if you're quirky or shy or funny or loud or whatever it is that is you, just be you unabashedly. That will bring the most level of aliveness. And alive means alive, right? The opposite of that is death. So there's fear of death. Fear of death is not really fear in itself. It's a fear of letting go of what we are holding on to and control. Because when we die, we can't control anymore. So what are you controlling? See what you're controlling and let that die. And that will bring you alive. There's this amazing quote in the Bible, which I think speaks right to this, is that those who lay down their lives will pick them back up again. But those who hold on to them will lose their life. So when you hold on to your life out of fear, you lose it. You don't live. You're not alive. But when you lay down your fear, when you give it up, that's when you become fully alive. That's when you pick up your life.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And thank you for all the work in the world. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. And thank you for holding this beautiful space. And what a wonderful connection and conversation. I'm very grateful.
Wow, me too, for sure. Okay, listeners, if you found helpful nuggets or inspiration in this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe and share it with somebody you care about. The more we give for the sake of giving, the bigger the difference we can make. And if you're interested in coaching with me, go to wakeupwithjoni.com and click on the Calendly link. Now, the most important part, other than Dr. Moshe. Beautiful humans, it's your turn to go out and live your most alive lives.
Amen.